Have you ever had the race talk with another race? No? Well, get ready for part one of the race talk in white and black families.
Okay, can you hear us now? Okay, cool. It's it's on my phone now. So give me a minute.
Okay.
Yep, there it is.
There it is.
No. Look, I don't know if that was our thing or not. We were like, let me change. I've changed from my personal laptop to an iPad to the work computer. I was like, something has to work. I was determined. I was determined. Thank you guys.
Side by side.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, we can go to the gallery view. Where is it?
Are you closer?
Do you need to lean it a little bit so you're not?
This is marriage right here. This is a small sample of what marriage is like. This is a small sample of what marriage is like right here.
All the small chit chat.
I know, right? It's just little bumps in the road. You just gotta be flexible. You gotta be flexible.
Well, I'm Dana. I'm Jeffrey's wife.
Yes. I'm sorry. I married this lady 13, almost every 14 years in July. So 14 years.
Awesome. Very cool. Hey,
So-
Dana, I'm Kimber.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Yes, Kimber. Yes, and the guy, the handsome guy to the side is Luke Savidge.
Yes, Luke.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, Luke and Kimber Savages. You call yourselves the Savages? Is that?
Yep. We're
Yeah.
the Savages.
I love it. We would always make fun of his name in terms of the Savage thing now. In terms of true like that, so it's good stuff to see. So
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
Yep.
It's great when I'm on the playground with my kids and I yell for the Savages to come on and
like,
hang it.
yes, I would totally rock that. By the way, I would just be.
Oh, we do. Absolutely.
I would just go see my head. Yeah, but well, being the misters too, like we got some of that same thing. So I just try to roll with it all the way throughout. But thank you guys for joining us. And officially, you guys are part of the Mr. and Mrs. Mr. podcast. So give yourselves a round of applause.
Yes.
So which I guess now this is our first like Zoom part of the podcast. We normally have people in and whatnot. So it's good that we're doing this too. And so we normally kick off with what this show is about, and we can kind of go into who we are. And after that, I'd love to hear who you guys are, and just kind of details. Like you've been married, how many kids you have, taking long walks on the beach, stuff like that. And we'll kind of get it. And then we'll kind of get into like race now with everything. Like, how are you guys dealing with that? Like talking to your kids. How are you dealing with each other? Like growing up for us, growing up for you guys, and just just let the conversation flow the way it goes. And so hopefully we can help somebody in the sense of this. So I want to thank you guys. I love you guys too. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All the time. Luke does a good job of like shooting his shot a lot of time when he's travels all the time to get something back. To get in there. He does a good job with it. So I salute you, brother. Good job.
Appreciate that.
Good job. So yes. Oh yeah, let me make sure. I know, right? This would suck if we were doing this whole thing and did not record. It says record, so good. Okay. So officially, I'm Mr. aka Jeffrey Mr. Right beside me is my wife of 13 plus years, 2 kids, and a lot of craziness. And this is
Dana, Mr. aka Mrs. Mr. And together we are
the Misters. Yeah. We have a theme song. I don't know if you guys have listened to podcasts at all, but the theme song is called the Laugh, Learn, and Love podcast. We believe in every relationship, every marriage, every relationship. You need to laugh, learn, and love. So the theme song, we'll start the first lines off, and you guys do the second, which is either be great or hilarious. So even the latter part. So we'll do the first line, and you guys can do the second part. Just listen in. However it goes.
Okay,
We'll try.
Good to go. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Laugh, learn, laugh.
Hey.
Laugh, learn, laugh.
Hey.
Laugh, learn, laugh.
It's the Mr. and Mrs. Mr. podcast show.
Laugh, learn, laugh.
Laugh, learn, laugh.
Laugh, learn, laugh.
It's the Mr. and Mrs. Mr. podcast show. Oh yeah.
And let's start our show.
All of our guests, that is a part of the christening that we bring you on to just however it goes. It's always fun to see how couples do. So it's always a good thing. So she kind of sings it in. Luke, you do my part, and then you do Dana's part. So okay, You guys ready? I love it. I didn't even tell him about this.
Oh man.
Really on the spot. This is.
I'm not sure I would have agreed if I would have.
That's the reason why we don't tell you until after you get on the show. It's like, oh no. So
am I supposed to be singing the Mr.
Yes,
the
there you
Mr.
go. The Mr. and Mrs. Mr. podcast show. That's all you do.
Because everybody is a Mr. and a Mrs.
Yes, so it's our name, but you guys are.
Yeah. Am I supposed to sing it right now?
I thought I was singing that
You're
part.
singing.
You're
Oh,
singing
yeah, she
that
sings
part,
first.
right?
Yeah.
I
You
started,
sing
right?
first. Yes, that's right. You start first, and it's like, what? There we go. Yeah.
Laugh, learn, love. Laugh, learn, love. Laugh, learn, love.
It's the Mr. and Mrs. podcast.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I love it. Yes. Okay. So every episode, you guys are awesome, by the way. I love you guys.
So you want to explain to everybody who our guests are today?
Yes, thank you for setting it up. I have worked with Luke for several years, and I've either been a part of him in terms of a lot of other things inside of schools that we work with and outside of schools. We have had smoothies or whatever we had together, I guess, at a spot we went.
Yeah, it was a smoothie down in White.
Two guys, nothing wrong with two guys going to have smoothies together. Nothing
Not
wrong.
at all.
So nothing strange at all
That's a
about
new
that.
age going
Nothing
to get a
strange
beer,
at all
right?
Nothing strange at all about that. But yeah, so I've been knowing him, great guy. He is a husband, an educator, a Christian guy. He loves his family, loves his wife, which I was like, he'll be a great candidate for that. So it's always a good
So
character.
tell us about you guys, the Savages.
Yes. Who are the? So if you were to meet us now, you're like, we ask, like, who are the Savages? Who are you guys? Where are you from? All those good things. So fill us in.
I'll do a quick version. Luke Savidge. Originally, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and grew up in a household of two educators. And so that kind of led me on my path to education. Kimber and I got married almost 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years in September. Yes. And I'll let you share a little bit more.
We've been married for almost 10 years. We have 4 kids.
All right. What are the ages?
We have 7, 6, 3, almost 4, and 1, almost 2.
Yes. All right.
So,
we have a 7 and 6-year-old. We were thinking the same thing around the same time. Good years. Those are good years.
Those are good years. Oh, great. We got married in East Tennessee, lived in Phoenix together for a couple years, and then moved out to Memphis after our first kid was born. I grew up here in the suburbs, and so we came back to be near family, near my family.
Okay, it's good. It's good to have. Yes.
Okay. Well, welcome. We appreciate you guys coming on board. One of the things Jeff and I talking about, during this time, it's so important that we have open conversations to hear both sides. That's how change really do come about. We have to be able to talk and dialogue, and especially for those who want to hear our voices, as well as, once the voices are heard, to hear you guys' voices as well. Because that's where change really come about. So we're all about progressing and moving forward. And so, yeah, Jeff, you gonna?
Yes, so thank you. Yeah, so every episode we like to laugh, learn, and love, like you guys just sung so beautifully there. And so we like to start off with a little segment like we like to call Whose Side You're On. And so, I know, we got the little, we do full on. We going full on there. So if you
I love it.
Yes, and so we ask a question, right? And you just give your honest take. It's usually a funny question. And the audience who's watching, whether you're watching on YouTube or a podcast version, they say whose side they're on. So typically it's something that we can't get to. So and
it's just to break the ice.
Yes, kind of icebreaker type of thing. Okay. So if your best friend needed a place to stay, would they be able to stay with you? And if so, for how long would they be able to stay? So you're asking for your spouse's best friend. So just thinking about, so like, how long would they be able to stay? So we'll let you guys kick it off. You're the guest today. We'll let you guys kick it off. So
I'll go first. Her friends are absolutely wonderful. So
Yeah, of course.
I would. This is going to sound crazy, but I would probably say indefinitely. We throughout our 10 years of marriage, we've had lots of people who have come in and out of our home because we feel like our home is really a gift from the Lord, and we want to be able to share that with people. And so, if someone needed a place to stay, I imagine they could stay as long as they needed to. Now, I can't speak for the other side of this and my friends, but we'll find out.
Nice segue. No pressure at all. No pressure at all.
I mean, it's funny. In our first year of marriage, one of his best friends lived with us for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And so for us, that's a very I mean, it's a part of life for us. You said there's a lot of crazy in your life, and we've got a lot of crazy going on. And so as long as they can deal with our crazy, they're welcome in our home.
They're good to go. Okay.
Okay, Jeffrey.
Okay. So let's think of your free. How long could they stay? I think at least at the most 3 days. Like a good strong weekend, I think would be a good thing to go. And I just say that because like sometimes we're not properly dressed, I think, walking around. And I'm just kind of weird, like, oh, hey, that is best friend. How you doing? Oh, just keep look away. So I was probably say about 3 days.
Wow. Okay, got it.
Nothing against them. I just think
It's us. Look, it's us. It's
we're
not
the
them,
problem.
right?
It's not you. We're the problem. We're the problem. So I think we did.
For me, I would probably say yes. I don't have a problem with it because, when we first got married, like you guys, one of Jeff's friends stayed with us.
Yeah, he was unemployed. Yeah, he lost his job.
He had lost his job, and so we allowed him to stay with us for quite some time. We were in an apartment then. We weren't even in a house.
Yeah.
So we had a 2-bedroom apartment. And then right now we actually have my sister's boyfriend staying with us for 6 weeks. Because he's doing his clinicals, he's at physical therapy, so he's doing his clinicals here. So again, just feel like trying to help out somebody, especially those who are in need or whatnot. So yeah, so
he's to be clear, he's renting a space from us. He's a tenant. So we love him like future family. It's just right now he's paying us financial currency to occupy a space.
So I wouldn't have a problem with it. I think as long as everybody's on the same page, setting goals, boundaries, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like you said, as long as you can understand our kids and how we operate, and you may hear me say, hey, stop that and all of that stuff. As long as you can handle that, then you're cool, you're welcome. But
I always wanted to, right? Like if we had to stay with somebody else, like what sounds would they hear? Like what sounds would be you're like, hey, you don't really have, you're staying for free, buddy. So you gotta take it how it comes here.
Yeah. So I just don't want people coming thinking that, hey, you coming into this nice, quiet library. That's not what you're gonna get.
No. Plus, you're not paying anything, so you gotta go with the flow with it. So yeah, okay, cool. So if you're listening, watching, however you're listening to us, thank you first of all, and just let us know in the comments whose side you're on. Whose side you're on. So just to kind of recap, Luke said indefinitely. Oh, all right. Kim, you said it's the same thing, right? You said the same thing, indefinitely, or did you have a cap on you?
Pretty much the same. Pretty much. Yeah.
Just like indefinite or 1 month, either one.
It depends on how much I like you.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Great answer.
That's fair. So if you be like, hey, so if you hit that like, so what are you about to do? And so if you hit that comment there, like, Kira doesn't really like that much. So it's good.
My friends are at like different levels of like.
Oh, okay. She has
it just depends on where they are on the scale.
Right, exactly.
She's like, look, this is the part of this question. Would she get you to go tell them to move, or would she be like, okay, Chuck?
Oh yeah, that's his job, not.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah.
You hear that. Okay. Got the same thing. Yep. And you said what was your
I don't have a time frame. I think, just figure out what their goals are, what's your game plan is, and all of that stuff. So I don't necessarily, like, for example, with my sister boyfriend, he came, he was like, he needed to be here for 6 weeks. Okay, I'm cool with that. So at least it sets my mind frame.
Okay,
like,
so going in.
Well, so again, like for us, we had an interview with him. I'm like, okay, what's your game plan? And then, we even asked the question, like, so what if you and my sister don't work out? Are you still, is everybody gonna still feel comfortable?
That was my question. I was like,
That was a good one.
that was my question. I was like, just in case, let's think about the contingency plans. It's kind of unfortunate.
Right. But we all agreed, even if they don't work out, we won't kick them out because we made an agreement for 6 weeks. So, but 6 weeks and a day, you got to go.
Yeah. And the recap for me, mine was 3 days. I feel like, if Jesus could do it in 3, you you could do it in 3 too. So, hey, all things are possible. So,
you're so gracious.
You can feel the love.
He is not showing the same grace as Jesus showed.
He did a lot in 3 days, so they can do a lot. Better job and get a place to stay. So, thank you guys. So, appreciate you. We're gonna jump now into the learn part about this. I'd like to kick it off with, I think, was it yesterday? It's been together. Yesterday, Sesame Street, and CNN did a segment. I hope you guys got a chance to watch it. You guys get to watch it too. Your thoughts on that, and just kind of kicking us off as our topic today is, if you're just joining us right now, is we're talking about race. How do we talk to our kids about race in terms of times like this? In terms of Black lives, what do we as Christians think about that? Like, how are we pushing it? What conversations that we have with friends and family and whatnot too? But just kind of kicking off now with the Sesame Street CNN episode. I got a chance to watch it. Then I had to work, so I got a chance to watch with the kids. But it was a good episode of seeing that. What were you guys' thoughts, takeaways, and everything just from initial town hall Sesame Street?
I thought it was really great. Both our 6 and 7-year-old hung in there and thought like they appreciated it. I've actually told a couple of my girlfriends who have struggled knowing, like, where do I start?
Yes.
And said, this is actually a very good starting point. They have very good, thoughtful questions, but it isn't, it wasn't super divisive. It was very clear in statement and upholding, like, the image bearers of Christ, really, like, even though it was, anyway, so I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, I appreciated the diversity in voices of the different questions that were being asked. It's not just white folks that are trying to be able to navigate this new reality. I think it's everyone trying to be able to figure it out. And I am definitely the emotional one in this relationship right here. And so, like, I really loved it, but I also just like cried throughout because, it's like the black boy, the 12-year-old black boy who sang so beautifully. One, it was beautiful. His voice was beautiful, but 2, it just made me so incredibly sad that a 12-year-old boy was singing some of the words that he was, and like that's a reality for him. And then trying to be able to help our 6 and 7-year-old really understand the realities for kids who are the same age as them but don't look like them. And so I was grateful for it yesterday and grateful that our kids sat down and watched it because I felt like there were very thoughtful questions answered. And our kids, I think, really valued just being able to listen and learn. And so we were both very grateful for that resource yesterday for us and for our kids.
Love it.
And to add to that, I would say it's so amazing. Malia and Jace was eating dinner last night, and they're 6 and 7 as well. And
good years.
One of the things that was really brought out was I think Malia said George, and she said his last name. And my son, who is the youngest one, was like, "No, say his name, George Floyd," and like that really stuck out to him. But also, it really brought up the conversation because we talk about, because they go to a diverse school, but but we, you know, we talk about, you know, being Black and that sort of thing. But yesterday really honed in on, because he was like, so mommy, so I'm Black, right? And I was like, yeah, because again, you know, it's the innocence, you know, you feel like you taking the innocence from them. So I was like, yes, baby, you're Black. Because he was like, no, mommy, am I Black or brown? I was like, well, you're, you know, you're brown, but you're Black, right? And so then he talked about, he was like, so they killed George Floyd because he was Black? I was like, yes, baby, they did. And he was like, oh my goodness. And this is what really stunned me, because he was like, so are they going to kill me because I'm Black? And as a parent, I'm like, and I was like, baby, and this is my, because, you know, again, I'm still trying to protect some innocence, but still be real with them. I was like, baby, unfortunately, some people will kill you because you're Black, but as a mother, I am going to be there every step of the way to try to protect you as much as I possibly can. But again, like then you have to start having those conversations as far as like, you know, when you address a police officer, you know, it's those type of conversations that I'm like, man, I'm having this with my 6-year-old. Like he's 6, and this is the person who loves like Black Panther and Superman and Batman. Like he loves everybody, no matter what race you are, he loves you as a superhero. But and he loves the police and he loves the firefighters. So it's these type of conversations that now I'm forced even more to have. So
yep, and it just makes me think now of like hearing you guys and hear what you said too of that. We got a chance to watch this research too, and I thought it was excellent. I thought the questions were, somebody was like, I'm going in with the questions here. I thought they were well-primed questions, even questions like, why do people have different skin colors? I thought adults need to rewatch this too, and like, you could really get some good from that. And so like, most of it pushed me to think like, where do we start, right? Because like a lot of people who are listening now have kids, like are in the same age or maybe younger, or some even older. And so like, where do we start having these almost what feels like impossible like dialogues with kids? Like you said, they're like, oh my goodness, like they ask that question like, the police want to kill me? Like, oh my, like, I just want you playing with G.I. Joe. Kids don't play with G.I. Joes anymore, but whatever toy.
Spider-Man, Batman, and Black Panther, you know?
The Avengers and stuff like that, right? And so, but when did you guys, I don't know if you guys have even thought about this yet, or maybe you have, because it sounds like you have, but like, when did you guys have the conversation about like race differences, skin color, you know, all those different things, or is it something that like, that brought light, like maybe we need to go deeper? What are your initial thoughts on just, has that something that you guys even talked about? Because I don't know, like if we've talked about, hey, at this age, like as soon as the birthday, we blow out the candles, we're talking to them about this. We haven't really, we've kind of did it in throughout time, but I'm wondering, you know, for you guys, has that been a conversation you've had, or?
Like a conversation we've had between each other about when to present it to our kids, or?
Yes, yep.
I don't think it was a conversation that we really had with each other to be able to try to figure out like, this is the age we're going to begin talking about race. With the kids, I think that a result of what happened to George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, you know, it's like as a result of that, we've begun to have conversations with them. And I don't think, obviously we didn't plan it, but we both felt like this was the right time to be able to begin having conversations with them, because they need to be able to see their parents. They need to be able to see us being active. And we need to be able to have conversations with them as we become more active in our own lives. So that they can begin to be able to have an understanding of like, why are mom and dad choosing to be able to go to protests in downtown Memphis? Why are we being so outspoken with our friends and with our family? And so I think that was not something we planned, but something that has just happened naturally over the last month.
Something that struck me really just this morning, I saw something, I love Instagram. It's probably a fault really, because I just think it's so lovely a lot of times, not always, but I ran across something this morning that talked about the difference between like being an inclusive parent and being a parent who is really anti-racist in perspective. And I think that intentionally we have brought like Black baby dolls and books with, people of color and different able bodies and all of that, because that's really important. And I think it's really important to bring the whole kingdom of Jesus to our kids, to show them everyone. So I think that we have done that. But this morning, as I was processing through like how we've spoken to our kids most recently versus how we've been talking to them their whole lives, is like the inclusiveness is really very much a passive hope of like, there is this wrong and this is not okay. You know, like we read books and even like things like American Girl dolls, you know, and they know about slavery. They know about MLK because we're in Memphis. Like they know those little bits and pieces, and they know that's not okay. But in the past, it's been a lot of like, it's not okay and we don't know what to do. So we're not really doing anything besides saying, everyone is a creation of Christ, and like we need to love everyone. And more recently, it's been some of our children.
Oh yes, no, I was we had somebody crawl through as we were doing it. Like, I gotta give the eye. I'm showing my eye. Like, I gotta get that. No problem. No problem. Luke did. He was on it. He was like, oh.
Yeah, he was. He was ready.
That was not even. He's like an eye. Like, I got it. Boom, boom. And it was like, you guys.
I got the teacher look down.
I saw it. It was like, don't worry about it. 3 seconds. Boom. Yeah, did it. Good.
But I think like the difference in the past couple weeks is we've gone from there's something wrong and we don't know what to do, so we're not doing anything, to there's something wrong. We're still not exactly sure the right way to go about this, but we're going to listen to our friends and family and other folks who are Black and like uphold with them and go with them where they're leading us. And that's the best we can do right now. And that's what we're going to do. And it's made me, I've been amazed to watch my girls like so quickly, like veer over to like, it's important. I want to use my voice. I need to share with friends. I need to talk to, or asking questions about grandparents. Like, well, why does somebody think this way? And why do, it's just been,
Yep.
But it's been devastating. Anyway, sorry, that's a lot of chat just to say like, it's been crazy. But one of the things that really kind of pushed me over the edge, sadly, was just a friend who is Black talking about her 2 boys and the conversations she's having with them.
Yeah.
And it was like, I can't sit here and be quiet when you all are having to have these conversations that are devastating.
Yeah.
And just, devastating is the only word I can think of. And that I have to do my part to make sure that my kids know that you all are having to have these conversations, so that hopefully your kids don't have to have these conversations.
Yes. Facts. Yes, and having those conversations too, it's like, I think it was some product did like the commercial, like of the talk of like, hey, like don't do this, like you're going out and whatnot too. And then speaking to like a lot of my white friends too of like, hey, like, wow, I didn't know that side. So you name something too, like for allies, a part of this piece of like, you name them, just like listening, right? So being a part of that conversation, of being a listening ear of like, hey, like I may not, push to that, but like I'm not passive. I want to see how I can actively be a part. So kudos on that of just being willing to do that. I think that's something that hasn't really been a part of the conversation before. It's like, well, I'm not racist.
Right.
I don't do anything like that. But like that's the role of like people, because I've got a lot of text message stuff throughout the week. Like, hey, I see you, and definitely appreciate that. But I do like the name of that. Like, hey, I'm digging in more. I'm listening more. I'm pushing there. Also, too, having conversations with people of other white people too. So like white people having other people with other white people that don't share that same sentiment. That may be like, oh yes, that have a clouded view of Black people there that is adding on to that side of racism. So
right. And I will, to add to that, I would say a lot of times we don't want to talk about race because we are so afraid to offend people. You understand? So it's kind of like, well, I don't want to offend anybody, so let me play it safe. But I believe that's just as dangerous, because when you have to, in order, I want people to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because being uncomfortable brings about change. And so, you know, one of the things is talk about, like, if people are offended, if they're sensitive, they're going to be offended regardless, right? Mm-hmm. So my thing is, it takes bold, courage individuals such as yourselves, like stepping up and like, hey, you know what? Like, we're not taking this, you know, we want to be a part of change versus, you know, I'm not going to say anything. And, you know, that's one of the things that I think that's what really bothered me a lot when I saw a lot of, some of my white Facebook friends, they was posting more about the looting and the stealing, but then posts about the actual things that happened to, you know, George and all that. I'm just like, okay, like, I get it. And let me say this, I do not condone stealing or looting by no means, but I get it. People are angry and they're tired and they're fed up. And so, you know, and it wasn't all people who want progress and change. I'm not saying that either, but, you know, it's kind of like people were tired and angry and they was trying to figure out a way. First of all, we've been in the house for weeks due to COVID-19. Then all of this has happened, you know, so it's like, we won't change it. So that really, it really hurt my feelings. I even shared with Jeff, one day I was walking, what was that, Thursday or Friday? And one of our white neighbors, she came to me, she was like, it's just so sad that they're stealing and looting. It was an older white lady. And she was like, that's so sad. And I was like, yes, ma'am, it is. And she even brought in the fact, you know, it was even a Black lady on there, you know, about her business. I said, yes, ma'am, you know, I get it. But my response to her was, that was the first thing that you stated to me. You didn't ask me, how do you feel about this man for 8 minutes and 46 seconds had his knee on his neck? You know, you didn't say anything about that. Or you didn't say anything about Breonna Taylor. She's in her home. And I told Joe that's even more crazy, because I'm like, they could come in my home and just.
Yeah, that's not the first time too. Like, just eating ice cream, like, yeah, what next week? And then to die.
So it's like, these stores are Aubrey just running in his neighborhood. You know, it's those type of conversations. So my thing is, don't come to me and talk to me about the looting and stealing if you haven't addressed the other issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. So yeah, so being able to start there. So we're saying to kind of give like some tangible things. I know our kids like 6 and 7, so like we've started before, but like you said, this is May. The same thing like you guys said, like we didn't have an age going in for people who are looking, hey, I have a 1-year-old, like when do I need to start doing it? I was watching the CNN thing, like they were saying you can start at 2, where you're like just kind of speaking about just a general basis and just kind of adding on. It's like, wow, 2, like, man, it's like they're still, but yeah, like right now, you know, just being an experience. And then so that, because like we could provide the perfect space for them, but I realize at school or other places, you don't know, you know, like for us, like coming up, right? Like coming up, what we, and like in one of the other episodes, what we talked about was the talk, right? So like, did your parents have the talk with you guys? Did they have the talk with you guys or no? Mine did. My mom was like, don't come home with babies. I was like, how do I get them? What store are they at? Where do I get them from? and so, but talking to them, like they didn't have to talk with their parents, right? And then probably back then too. And so it just kind of gets passed on. I'm thinking the same thing here in this case, if our parents, because I don't know, that may be a good question now of like, did your parents have the race conversation with you? Did you see it? Was it good, bad? Was it something you're like, hey, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, what was your experience with race growing up? Good, bad, and different with that?
I think I'm starting to recognize that it like wasn't good.
Gotcha.
You know, like I've been trying really hard to read different books. Right now I'm reading White Fragility, and
oh yes, I like you even more now.
But, you know, it's been like I've been floored because I think that with our kids, so we homeschool our kids, and I try really hard to make sure that our curriculum isn't what we had, because I knew like history, what we learned in school wasn't appropriate and was very whitewashed, and I wanted to make sure that's not what our kids are getting, even as tiny people. But reading this book, I just have thought so many times, wow, even like some of the verbiage I've used with our kids that I thought was appropriate, really hasn't been, you know, like one of the examples was like for a long time, I've talked about melanin, and that's our skin color, and light skin to dark skin. And that's how we framed it, just because it was like, I thought that was the more appropriate.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And I just had read you know, like I read a page that was like, you know, you get embarrassed. Oh, that means black. Shh, don't say anything. It's like, why? That's not a shameful thing to notice. Like, it's a beautiful thing. And it was one of those, like, that's so weird that I hadn't processed through that was really what I was saying in that context.
Yes, loved it.
And so, like, I don't know. I don't even know where I started. Sorry, but anyways, I heard a lot of, I don't see race.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. Like, I don't see color. Like, a lot of people tell me, like, well, I don't see color. Like, well, why did you stop me? Why did you tell me? What made
and that
you?
was the lady that told me, she was like, you know, I just love everybody. I don't see race and all that. But I'm like, but you know, and that this is another statement that people should not say is we don't have a race problem. We have a sin problem. True. We do have a sin problem, but we have a race problem as well. So, yeah. So oh yes, that conversation was definitely interesting that morning.
But like you guys said, like that is something a lot of people hear. Like a lot of people who are watching this right now saying, you know, like maybe they're talking about me. Like I've said that before, right? There's nothing wrong with like this. I want this forum to like not shame anybody who has done some of that before, but this is how you really get to that point, right? So many people now, like it's like a cancel culture. If anybody says or does anything outside, like how do we educate somebody who's ignorant or doesn't have the knowledge of something like that? Or we all have come up, and I kind of brought that question up because I have my thing of like, what ways, and so like race is typically like viewed from the way our parents or our grandparents like experience their coming up and where they were taught and the way they handled situations. And so if we're not careful, right, or like reading books or like digging in knowledge ourselves, we just continue to do the same things, right or wrong, right or wrong.
Right.
And so just thinking of that. So Luke, I don't want to take the over you. How was it growing up with you? Race, was it something you saw, whatever like that? So dig into that.
Yeah, no, this was not a conversation that we really ever had. So I grew up in a very white, affluent neighborhood, went to a private school, and grew up like in a very privileged household.
I've never known that the way you.
Yeah. And in reality, it wasn't until I moved to Memphis in 2013 that I really started to question a lot of the beliefs that I had and things that I had learned. And that just came from like reading and spending time in class. You know, I can remember in 2013, this was like June, July, one of the first books I read was Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria?
Yes.
I'll be 100% honest and say that like it made me very uncomfortable, and it was really hard because a lot of the terms and things that I didn't know and understand because of my background didn't make sense to me. You know, and I think that through working where I have and living where we do, I think that's given us a greater perspective. You know, Brian Stevenson talks about like living in proximity to people allows you to develop empathy for their story. And I think that
one more time, Luke. I'm sorry. Just in case somebody went to the restroom or a child was crying in the background. Say that one more time, sir.
Brian Stevenson talks about how it's incredibly important to be in proximity to people that you don't necessarily know or understand their background or their experiences. And by doing that, it allows you to be able to develop empathy for who they are and their story. And I think over the last 8 years, I think that's really the work that the Lord has done in our hearts and in our family through reading, and also just doing life with people in our church and on our street has allowed us to be able to develop empathy for our Black friends that have a very different background and experience than we do. And I think what's interesting is, you know, it's like my sister this week, she lives in Houston, and I love her to death. And she's incredibly emotional like I am. and she reached out. And
Kimber's face when you said I don't know if you're reading this.
Well, Luke, I understand. I'm the sensitive one. So it's okay.
There's got to be one, right? There's got to be one.
There has to.
You're militant family.
I'm the one that's crying at the dog in the movie. Like I may give up this tough facade, but I'm not.
Baseball?
Yeah. So she reached out this week and just said, like, my heart is very heavy and I feel like I've finally gotten it. Like there's just been like an awakening in my soul because of what's been happening. And she used the analogy of like, it's almost like a walk, like your walk with the Lord, right? Mm-hmm. I can't force it on anyone. Like the Lord and the Holy Spirit has to do something in your spirit in order for you to know that you truly need Jesus.
Preach, sir. And in the black church, preach, sir. She had just said, like, it seems like it's almost the same way. And it's like, she then, like, within this last week, I mean, like, she's put together a book club. She's reached out to multiple friends and family members that she knows, like, hold some pretty unfair views, and it's just like asked us for book recommendations. I mean, it's just kind of awoken inside of her. And so I think we can't always plan for when that's going to happen. But being, like I said, not to be repetitive, but being around, we need to get a charger, being around people and being in proximity to friends who have different experiences than we do have really helped us develop ourselves first, so that we can then develop our kids. Because like you guys had said, the work truly begins in our minds, our hearts, and in our homes. And then as we do that work, then it continues to be able to move out. So hopefully, like we said, my kids don't have to have conversations with their kids about police officers killing Black people.